I'm Channing McCorston, the Container Guy. In this video, we're gonna modify a 40-foot high cube one-time use shipping container into a 24-foot office, a couple bathrooms, and a mechanical unit to house a water tank, pressure system, and septic tank. Follow along. So in this container, we're getting close to being ready for foam. We have our wall flashing kits and door flashing kits installed on the container doors, and that's gonna retain all the insulation. And then the first door here is already into the first bathroom. So behind this is where the water tank, the black water tank, and the pressure system is gonna be. And then we're gonna have 2 stalls in here. And so this is one of the first times we've built a washroom. This is the first time that we built this washroom using our strut line system with the strut strapping. And so we're just still playing around with the engineers, creating all different return flashings for our window and door kits so that everything can seam up nicely and seal up prior to spray foam when we get the best vapor barrier we can around all of our fenestrations. So we're back in the can after spray foam. Seems like the foamers did a great job getting everything all insulated and no exposed steel from the shipping container. It's all nice and tidy around the corners, and that was mostly in part with how we framed the inside corners. So we have the strut channel on the end wall and the strut channel on the side wall, and then we put a piece of just angle flashing in here up to our new corner casting cover there, which gets installed prior to spray foam now, and that locks everything in and allows us to go from the strut strapping on the first end wall corrugation to the strut strapping on the first sidewall corrugation, and clean up that corner nicely with our white PVC reline wall panels. And so there's quite a few firsts on this job. We're still working on what the best ground level office envelope should look like, and how we should frame the container, and in what interval of corrugations. You see here we have just a single corrugation spacing between this section of reline wall panel, which isn't perfectly planned out, but it's the way that it worked on this one, given it had the mechanical room, 2 bathrooms, and then the office area. So a few things that we're trying to do here is we did run some BX in the wall in the spray foam prior. And so we have a wire stubbed out, and this is going to be a baseboard heater that's just bolted right into the strut channel. And we also tried to run all of our plugs to conceal all the wiring and have that in the wall, and then just router around our boxes and put our electrical right in here. So everything's super tidy. There's not too much exposed conduit in this thing. All this BX collected into a junction box above the panel, and all that will go in there, and then we're just gonna conduit straight down into the panel. And the panel is gonna be mounted on the strut channel and allow, I guess, the customer to pipe out of there and run electrical anywhere else that they need after the fact. And so whatever we knew was required now is all concealed, and the rest can easily be added later on top of the data that should be run into the office area of this office washroom combo. Start the tour at the back end of the container. This is, well, I guess it's the side of a container, but it's a side with no windows, no doors, and this is going up against another one of the buildings at the customer's site. And so they're just gonna come out of the building into the exterior junction box here. this is mounted directly behind where the panel is inside this container. So the wire, I'll go in here, there's just some lugs or terminals for the 3 or 4 wires to mount here, and then the electrician can also ground from here as well down either into a grounding plate, or sometimes you just ground right to the bottom channel of a container just down here. So a couple options there. Just the container's got so much mass in it in itself that it's a giant ground. Another thing I'd like to show you on this side of the container is where the bathrooms are. So the bathrooms are inside of here, and we've mounted bathroom fans. So this is a prototype version. It uses AC Infinity's 4-inch louvered vent, which is a very nice finish. It's all powder coated. That is run on the inside by their, it's just a computer fan actually, but it's 120 volt. So it's an axial fan, 100 CFM, and that thing's controlled by the light switch. So when the lights come on and there's an occupant in there, then the bathroom fan's running to extract any odors. So that's what those look like. We're gonna continue playing around with that design and maybe make it a bit more residential. And so maybe clean up the cosmetics of it and potentially have like a Decora style cover in there where either you could just pass a plug through into a nearby plug-in or install any sort of and you could do a switch, but what would be better I think is even a motion sensor. So if you had a 120 volt motion sensor on there and that's fed power to that, then the moment it sees someone, you can set the time that the bathroom fan runs and then shuts itself off. So that would be cool, something we're gonna play with, make prettier, and hopefully have available to the container home following. So if you're looking to build a container home, it is horrible putting regular bathroom fans in the ceiling. You lose a bunch of ceiling height, and it just, especially when you're spray foaming, it's a bunch of planning that you don't really wanna do ahead of time, rather than just installing a vent similar to like a big Air 45 vent, spray foaming up to it, and then dealing with this later. So now let's jump over to the end wall of the container. I want to show off the air conditioner and I guess that window. You can see how that all finished up. Let's go. At the back end of the can here, we installed the condenser unit for the air conditioner. Because there's going to be a shop door right here on the customer's site, we offset it to this side of the container just so it's out of the way as people angle out of their shop. We are able to mount this using strut channel on the end wall. So the strut channel tucks in behind the window frame here, and we're able to bolt it to the window frame with spring nuts. And then down at the bottom we have our exterior CSM brackets, which mount down there and hold that strut channel firmly in place. And then this thing installs very well. We have some gusseted brackets. Those are basically our shelving brackets at the bottom, and rubberized mount disc, because these things, when they are spinning, they do vibrate a little bit, and that'll just make it a little less noisy and more comfortable to work inside especially the back end of this container here. And so these here, there's the shut-off switch on the back end, and then the power runs up into the head unit. The plumber at site is also going to run the coolant or the Freon lines or whatever it is up into the head unit as well. So that's not fully finished. The plumber will do that there at site and then finish duct sealing all the opening. But I wanted to show you guys the opening here. A lot of people are thinking they need to get all the protrusions in their container ahead of time, and I do believe that's true when it comes to like 3 and 4 inch openings, something where it's larger than a corrugation. But if it's just like a 2-inch hole saw hole that you got to drill, then you can, if you oil your bit and use a hole saw, you can cut through the corrugations after spray foam, and then it's a nice, neat hole right through the outside of the container and then through the interior finish, in this case, the reline wall panels, and you're not having to frame around it and trim around it, which is really annoying. So just finish the interior as normal and then cut these holes afterwards, 2 inch and under. Seems to be the easiest way and what we do around here. And so this here, the first 24 feet of this container is the office portion. And what it has is a window on each side, a window on the end wall, and then this man door relatively centered inside of it. And so these are all the Container Modification World dual swinger man door and the window kits. These are the Gen 1 window kits. There's another type of window kit that's coming out shortly, sneak peek, but it's going to have a rain drip similar to the man door, and so that will just help shed the water away from the window. It doesn't continue it around. And then also right now there's 8 different sizes. It's gonna drop down to just 42-inch on the side walls and 48 on the end walls, which is gonna be great for just, you know, especially companies like us that are stocking these things. We don't need to stock 8 different types of windows and framing kits. It's gonna drop down to like 8 parts that we need to stock, which is gonna be amazing for my competition and myself. So let's jump inside this thing and show you what it looks like. And so this here is inside the office. We've got it all finished up, desks installed, all the reline done. And so we love this interior. There's a few things we learned as we went. We want to make a GLO style office where one style of office handles lunchrooms, change rooms, and offices. And so we might change our desk arrangement a little bit. You know, all these fancy folds are cool, but they just don't work if we want to utilize the same desk for maybe a bench seat or, you know, a taller bar stool height, eating table. So there's a little change there, and then maybe just stiffening up the brackets on how they actually mount into the strut channel. Another thing we want to look at here also is we want to eliminate half of the strut channel. So instead of putting 20-inch chunks of reline in between here, we'd rather do 42. We figured it's going to be about half the amount of work, so that'll save either our customers money because we're investing less, you know, time, labor, and also just maybe make it a little less expensive. So now that we've developed our steel stud bracket, we can actually put a 1 5/8" steel stud in between here. So we still have structure halfway in between to mount these reline panels. So everything will be good there, but then also just saving the expense of the strut channel itself and the strut strapping. So these here are our 36-inch window. And if you look here, we have basically 3-inch flashings on either side. And so if we now change this window to be a 42-inch window, we won't need any interior flashings on the side or on the top and bottom because we run a strut channel across. And that there is going to make the window install, but actually, well, the interior finishing around the window so simple. So lower cost, we've deleted some parts, and less labor again. So just picking away, you know, we here at the Container Guy, I think we're the biggest critics of ourselves, of our quality and the way we do things and why we do things, and you know, how much material we use. So we want to have the best envelope, but also just minimize the unnecessary expenditures to save money for our customers and just come up with a very common system that's easy to train for our employees to assemble, and yeah, just minimizes the cost for everyone. So here, I talked earlier about the junction box and how the panel's going in. This is it installed. So we got a couple chunks of conduit running down from the junction box into the panel. I think it's just a Homeline Schneider panel. What I'd like to see is, I think the square D, the bolt-in, maybe the stab-in panels are 20 inches wide, so they'd actually fit. They're the same width as this junction box and fit in between the strut channels. In my opinion, would be a bit cleaner of a look and more industrial of a look. So might play around with that again. But what's nice about this is all surface mounted. So if the customer needs to change something and add something, they can. Prime example here, plumber said they needed a plug for the basin water heaters underneath the sinks. The electrician gave them a plug like they asked, so 15 amps. Turns out it requires 120 volt 30 amps. So they needed to run a number 10 wire. That's not through the wall. Spray foam's all done. Now we have to add 2 different circuits over to those sinks. Luckily, we were able to do that because we don't have to pull a random circuit out the front face of the panel. We can just come out the junction box or the side of the panel. There's the knockouts here, and then pipe over to each one of the bathrooms and run the 30 amps that the plumber requires there for the on-demand electric water heaters. Another thing to look at is these partition walls. So this is our galvanized partition wall that actually bolts right into the strut channel. And so you can't even tell, this thing's all finished on the office side of this container with our reline panels, and there's structure that allows us to mount into the panels. And then wherever we're mounting a desk or something, or if we know something's going in there, we can also fur it up or shore it up with some plywood inside of that partition wall. And then This is insulated with just a batt insulation rather than spray foam, because that's better for dampening sound, and given that's a bathroom, if someone's working in here, they might not want to hear what's going on in there. So that'll just help keep it a bit quieter. But yeah, that finishes up really nicely, and then so it gives you the industrial galv look on the one side and then the nice office finish on the other, which is especially important or nice when you're building like an office storage combo. So there's just office on one end and storage on the other. You get your clean finish and then your very durable finish on the other side. And so as we move along, same goes, strut channel, and we have our baseboard heater. So these are electric baseboard heater. They're especially important when it gets below -30 Celsius. We do have the very efficient heat pump AC unit, which works up until about -30, but after that, there's just no heat left in the air, which is crazy that there's heat in the air at that. But then these have to kick in. And so this is a lot of times, you know, the backup heat, or if the door opens up, you know, it can kick on. But a radiant heat's nice too. It kind of heats objects rather than the air, and so makes it feel warmer than it is here. Also, the flooring in this thing, we left the stock container floor, which is nice on this end. The far end of the can, we get the gooseneck attachment where it's a steel floor, and so if the customer wants to finish this up with anything, they can. But all in all, you know, if you put a nice smooth coat of something on here, it might actually get worse. It's relatively grippy, but up to the customer, and for now it's insulated underneath, and so you get to keep this super durable, super rugged industrial flooring that's definitely going to handle the office chairs cruising around it. And so let's go check out the air conditioner. Here's the head unit prior to the cover being installed. So it shows you the wires coming in, and then the plumber still needs to vacuum out all of any moisture that's potentially in the system and then release the refrigerant. So they come preloaded with their new, what is it? It says right here, R410A refrigerant, which I think is just maybe a bit more environmentally friendly. And they're also Wi-Fi enabled, which is really cool. So if you get the app, you can actually just see the temperature in here from your phone wherever. This will have internet in here, and also adjust it from your phone or get any alarms if for some reason the temperature dropped, like this thing froze up. But that's why we put the backup heat inside of this thing. So that's really cool. Another thing to notice here, we have the 60-inch window, which is larger than what we want to switch to. We want to switch to a 48, so we're going to sacrifice a bit of window on this end wall, but we won't have these massive interior return pieces on both sides. And so that there is going to make, again, yeah, the interior finishing of this so much easier. And then we'll just do a strut channel right close to the corner, and then another one, and then it's going to be like a 42, 44-inch gap of reline where there's nothing. But that's gonna, what we feel, work very well. We also have some new corner casting covers in the top. So these are a prototype. These there just allow that 2 inches of foam around the corner casting, and that was installed prior to spray foam. What we're gonna do is now create that so it's a full 8 inches. So 8 inches this way, 8 inches that way, and install after spray foam. And we actually just insulated a can with that. Maybe I'll grab some footage and just show you that. Here we are in the other container that we're working on with our second version prototype of these corner casting covers when we're strut strapping and strut lining containers, not when we're steel studding. And these here, as you can see, there's just gonna be a lot less work trimming around this with reline. So we can just put a angle iron coming down and then J up to it on one side, or potentially we'll have aluminum or galvanized angle flashing that just fits right in there, and we don't have to do any relining in the corners, which would make this very, very simple to install. So this is yeah, the very first one that we've built, and it seems to fit in there nicely. So we'll get that glued in and screwed in, and then start finishing the interior of this thing, and away we go. And so yeah, this is the dream envelope here with the strut channel and the reline. We've got some tweaks we want to make, but all in all, super happy with the way this came out. Now let's go check out the bathrooms. One thing I really want to concentrate on is the lights that we put in there. We did a residential style pot light rather than these 4-foot fixtures. We did these in here just in case. We know they want light where they're working, but in the bathroom side, let's see how they turned out and if they're cleaner and if we can conceal a lot of the wiring, and also again save costs. You know, it's 20 bucks a fixture instead of 100 and some. So here's that 4-inch LED pot light fixture. These are just a flush mount, so all they need is just a tiny, or like an octagon, or even just like those little surface mount plates there. So yeah, they're really nice to install. They're low cost, and that should provide ample light inside of here, especially with the white walls and not being a very large room. So yeah, that might be a staple of what we're trying to achieve going forward. And then we can just have multiple lights in a can rather than just 2, 3, 4 fixtures. We could do 8 to 10 of these things inside of offices and more evenly distribute the lights. So that's something that's cool. And then here's the bathroom. And so one thing I'm not super pumped about is the customer hired their own plumber for this. And so the plumber came to our site and worked, but I wasn't in charge of the quality. And so there's certain things in here that I don't like. We have all this strut channel, which is meant to be strapping things like pipe or plumbing lines. And so a lot of this stuff's just freestanding and not necessarily mounted how I'd like it to be. Also, the urinal here, there's urinals where the trap comes straight down and is exposed, but for some reason they got one that goes through the back. So I think he made a frame here out of just steel stud to mount this thing, but it's shaky. And so another thing I'm not super impressed with, and even just the way that they strap these. I think these are 1/2-inch straps with a 3-inch PEX line. Like, that doesn't seem right. There's got to be some sort of strap for PEX. And then one thing to concentrate on though too, if we just don't look at the actual routing of the plumbing, but just look at the item, we have these SaniFlow toilets. So these are a macerator toilet. They discharge into a basin in the back, and then there's a macerator pump that pumps the waste into the septic tank, and so that can pump vertically. So from here it's just a 3/4-inch line, and that'll go over and into the tank. And yeah, just basically, rather than needing the whole container skirted and heated underneath here for gravity flow plumbing, now the sink, the urinal all flow into the basin, plus the toilet. Once it hits a level, pump kicks on and pumps it into the septic tank, which we'll show you next. There's actually 2 of the same bathrooms that we're able to fit inside this 40-foot container, plus the mechanical room, or the septic tank housing room here. So yeah, we're very happy to be able to fit an office, 2 bathrooms, and this mechanical room here, which we'll take a look. The water is going to slowly fill from the other building's existing pressure water supply, and it'll fill the holding tank, and so it'll have floats in here, a high and a low, so it'll know when to kick on and just slowly keep itself at a level that's comfortable. A lot of times you want to match your water tank to your septic tank, but in that instance we're not filling one and draining the other, and so it's less important that the water tank, honestly, it doesn't even need to be this large. It could have been something like 80 gallons instead of 300. I think there's a 400 or 440 or something gallon septic tank here. And this here's got 3-inch banjo fitting here for the septic truck to just quick connect and hook up to and pump this thing out very quickly. We're not too concerned. We're thinking about maybe like an access hatch through the doors or through the side of the container to hook up to this, but it's gonna be so quick, and the heat's gonna be retained in the water and then in the sewer as well, that this thing, like, even in the middle of winter, you just crack the one door, hook up, pump it out, and then close her up. We are way overpowered with our heater for the size of room, but we've got our, we really like these heaters. They're a garage style heater, and we're able to ceiling mount them to the strut. And so this is hardwired in, and then we also gave them a redundant plug for a construction heater. So we have here right beside the switch, just a second plug. And so if they are concerned about this ever freezing up and they want to just throw a heater on at a lower setting in here, just in case, that's there for them. We just threw that in, and then so the plumber still has to come in here and finish hooking up the pressure system and all that, so we won't be able to show you that. And but other than that, yeah, pretty good idea of what this thing's gonna look like. The vent line comes from both bathrooms and connects to the stack above this tank. And then we've installed that 3-inch ABS for the plumber prior to spray foam. So it's a nice solid seal around that with foam and up on the top of the can so that we don't have any water landing on the roof or snow melting that's going to leak back into this thing. So there's not a ton to see here other than I guess how pretty these container door flashing kits look once they're relined here. So this really trims off these doors nicely, and they come right up to the wall flashing kits on these cans. So, you know, I'd be surprised to see anyone come up with a cleaner, better insulated way of insulating these container doors, keeping them operational and as operational as they were right out of the factory. So we love this, so clean, looks good, everything in here, it's beautiful. Another thing to note, we also did a black rubberized flooring inside the mechanical room here, and then also both bathrooms. So we rolled on, that's the difference of the office side. We just left it because this is kind of grippy, and for your office chair to roll around, I don't know, might be okay, I guess, but just another expense too to put it over there, and it's something they can always add later. But that just kind of waterproofs this and avoids any spills or anything just from slowly rotting away the teak flooring. But that there pretty much wraps up everything I'd like to show you on this mod. It was a pretty in-depth mod. It took us a bit longer than we, I guess the customer wanted us to take, but we definitely used it as a learning experience, and we are able to adjust a lot of our 3D models and make better products going forward. And so this is even something that we could rebuild and sell to other people if you're looking for a office washroom combo and feel like we have the design quite dialed in. One thing I'd like to do is just get my own plumber and have that all drawn up in our model ahead of time so that we make sure everything's mounted nice and stiff and solid and utilizing the strut channel the way that it should be. So that there pretty much wraps it up. If you enjoyed the video, please do us a huge favor, give it a like and subscribe to our channel and ring that bell for notifications. And as always, check us out at tcg.ca. Hope you learned something.